this is Gold Star 1.1. It's actually one of the first patches I ever published on Patch Storage. And that was before I did things like demonstrations or videos. It was before I had this front page approach to my patches. So I've wanted to revise it for a long time to rectify both of those things. There was no demonstration. There was no front page. And it is based on the Keeley Gold Star Stompbox reverb, which is one of my favorite reverbs of all time. And in particular, it has a distorted reverb setting that I love, which tries to emulate the distortion caused by a mic preamp being overwhelmed and saturated by the reverb in a room. And I think it's just a wonderful sound. So, you know, I set out to try to replicate it in ZOIA. This one's in stereo, which is a big difference. I always wanted to use the Gold Star in stereo applications, but it's mono. So I've laid out the controls, how they appear on the Gold Star itself. There's a reverb decay. There's a pre-delay, and the pre-delay has a pretty wide span that goes from, let me turn down the reverb mix. At its longest, it's about 850 milliseconds, and at its shortest, it's like 1.5 milliseconds, so hardly there. And because it uses a delay line, it scales a little oddly, and it made, you know, the first half of the travel is all pretty short times, and it's not until you get until, I don't know, about 2/3 of the way through that you start getting more slapbacky length pre-delays. The distortion mix, it determines what the mix is between a clean room reverb and then the distorted reverb in the tails. So you can push it all the way and it's all distorted. Or you can keep it very low. And then there's a wet-dry mix. Because I had some CPU to play with, I played with it. This was always in the original version, and what it does is the left stomp switch will ramp up the distortion mix, and the gain of the distortion modules, which are edgy, is the version that's used. And if you wanted to change that, there's a slew limiter here. I like the settings that it's at, but you might want something slower or faster or whatever. That's where you would go to mess around with that. But again, I still had CPU to work with, so I added also control to max out the decay. So you can hold on to notes if you want. That's momentary. And then going back to this pre-delay, the pre-delay on the Gold Star is not quite as long as the one I put in here, but it's pretty long. It probably goes up to about, I guess, like 250 milliseconds or something like that, 300 milliseconds. You can get like a solid, you know, one repeat delay out of it. But I figured, hey, if I've got this really long pre-delay, why not have a setting where I can use it as a delay? So if you use the right stomp switch, it's latching and this light becomes brighter, and turn the pre-delay into just a delay that's before the reverb. And that is Gold Star.